Boom! Good morning, everybody. Alexis here, and today I want to share with you the story of me cleaning up and feeling home again using the KonMari method. So, about a month ago, I was talking with a friend, Chris, who just moved out of his apartment in New York City, and he actually just moved here to New York, to Berlin, and I saw, and he mentioned that he had KonMari'd his apartment while he was moving out, while he was putting things in boxes. He started a process that is known as the KonMari method, and it's a sort of a selection process, which I'll tell you a little bit about. Then I think I read from another friend who was also moving, or who was just changing some stuff in their lives, and they also mentioned the KonMari method, which I had heard of, but I hadn't considered even it for myself. And over like that week, there were a few more points where it came back to, oh yeah, cleaning up, KonMari, cleaning up. It just started to appear on my radar. And so I went to a bookstore here in Berlin, and I walked through the aisles, and lo and behold, on one of the bestseller book sections, there was a section on tidying up and the magic of cleaning up and tidying up after Mary Kondo, who is a Japanese consultant in helping people to tidy up their homes and tidy up their lives in a very structured fashion. And I looked through the books, and I found this book here. This is in German. I mentioned it actually yesterday in my video, and you can see it's the KonMari method. It's German, but I think you can see it. It's about how do you bring in order your life, your love, and your job. And there's two versions, and I picked up actually the manga version of it, which I highly recommend. While there is a Netflix documentary on her, which I haven't seen yet, actually, oddly enough, I really liked to have this sort of walkthrough. The story is of a young woman who has a very chaotic apartment, and the story goes how Mary Kondo sort of helps her clean up one step at a time. And there's a few things I learned, but before I'll tell you those, I'll tell you what I did. I picked up the book. This was $9 or so, 15 euros. So not cheap, but not totally worth absolutely the price. I'm glad I did. This has changed my life. And I read through the book once, or the comic, I mean, right? I read the comic once, and then I made the very quick decision, oh yeah, I think I can use this in my life. And before even telling you how I did it, I can tell you the impact that it has had to clean up and to clean out my apartment and get rid of things that are not sparking joy, which is part of the process. Then it has absolutely changed my life. I'm a huge fan, and I said when I finished reading this book and just sort of checking, is this for me? I was like, yes, this is for me. I gotta do this. And so I will just tell you, there is a process to it, which I really liked, and because I've tried to sort of clean up and get rid of and sort of open up space before. I usually do this once a year, where I go into my closet and I look at stuff that I don't want to wear anymore, and I look at a few books. But I never, and I always liked that. I've always been good at letting things go out of my life, but I never did it in a structured sort of targeted manner. And this book and her method, this is why there's a method and not just, clean up with a few steps. I followed the process very carefully, and I think if you consider doing this, get the book and follow the process. So the process was as follows. I decided that I was going to tidy up my place, and hopefully, I didn't even know what to expect, but I felt like this was the right time. I'm in a transitional period in my life as well. So the first thing that Mary Kondo recommends is go start with clothes. So the first thing I did was to take all my clothes that I had in my all over the apartment, put them into a big pile in the middle of the room. And the selection process, and this process is similar to every every type of stuff that you start tidying up. You take each piece, and let's say a t-shirt, and I ask myself the question, does this spark joy in my life or does it not? And if it sparks joy, I will keep it. And if it doesn't spark joy, I will let it go. And I will thank it for its service. So this sounds really probably fluffy, and I think everyone who hasn't done this yet, including myself, I was like, sparks joy, what does that mean? And the funny thing is, it's something you'll quickly learn, because you will, I like the concept of, it's either a hell yes or it's a no. And so I went through all my pieces of clothing, and very quickly, within a minute, you pick up a t-shirt and you're like, you can feel it immediately. Yeah, no, even if I almost have to ask myself, does this spark joy? If I have to ask myself, I made eventually the rule, then it's not sparking joy, because if it sparks joy, you'll know it. So I took a t-shirt and I was like, okay, this isn't, and I took another thing and I asked myself, does this spark joy? No. And then as soon as I would pick up maybe a shirt that I knew immediately, I was like, oh my God, this is one of my favorite pieces. Obviously, this sparks joy, and it would go to the keep pile. And again, this sparking joy thing, it seems so elusive, but when you try it out, you'll get into the flow. So I did that. I had separated my clothing. This didn't take long. This took like an hour, and I had two piles. A very small one that I was going to keep, where each piece was something I truly loved. So I have now over here a very small selection of things that I wear and that I kept. But I know for each and every one of those things, I love them, and so I kept those. I put them up. I kept, I put them back into the closet in a very specific manner. And I got a really big, those IKEA bags, those plastic bags. I got a huge bag full of clothes that I was going to let go. And what I also did, and this is for all the things that I let go of, I took each piece and I looked at it, and just to ease my own process of letting it go, I thanked each piece. I thanked it for its service, or I thanked it for protecting me. And there was maybe a piece that I thanked for helping me understand what I never ever want to wear again. So I really like that part of the process as well, is to put a positive spin on letting go, a grateful spin, and I think this really helped me not just eventually take on my little bike. I rode my bike down the street for a drop-off place, not only just to get the stuff away and get it out of my life, but also feel good about it, feel good about letting this go, and not second guess myself an hour later. I was like, where I would be like, oh my God, I hope I didn't throw out something that I shouldn't have thrown out. So this is the process. You start with the clothes. Does it spark joy? Each piece, put it in your hands, and then either yes or no, and keep only the things that are awesome. So the next thing was books, and I had a huge selection of books that I've carried across continents, and I did exactly the same process again. The books I was going to keep, I asked each book, or asked myself about each book, does it spark joy? Is it something that I can't live without? And I went through the process again, and I kept about a quarter of the books. I think I gave away about 100 books. So and behind me, you can see this actually, they're in my in my bookshelf here to my left. There's only books that I deeply care about. And the next thing was documents. And this is, again, I'm not freestyling here. I went through each step of the process. The next part of the step is to clean up documents. So, I had like letters, like this is more business documents, letters, and I don't know, like all just correspondence that I had kept for 10 years, pieces of paper that had made no sense in my life that I didn't need anymore. And so I went through that and I asked myself, is this essential? Do I really need this in my life, or can I let it go? So I wound up with a huge pile of paper that just went straight to the paper recycling bin. Then the next part was stuff, which I really liked. So you know how in your corners of your apartment, I had all these like little nooks where like stuff was sort of stored, and so that was a whole process. I basically threw out all of my stuff, like little pieces, like I don't know, like things that I never ever gonna need again. And let me just make sure I tell you the exact process. So clothes, books, paper, stuff like broken pieces of equipment, cables, little toys, like got rid of that. And the last part in this process, and you have to get better at, because you're training yourself to learning how to let go. At the end comes the real stuff, the memorabilia, the photos, the letters from loved ones, you know, a stone that you picked up on a walk with a friend, like stuff like that. So this is all led up to the point where I started to let go of things that were closer to me personally. So the first part was I took an inventory of all like the hobby stuff that I had bought, like balls and I don't know, weights and things that I that are going. I had a yoga mat that I had used for a long time, and so you're narrowing down where it gets close, where the things that you want to ask yourself about, do you want to keep them or not, they hit closer to home. You know, a book is a book. I mean, I have a personal relationship to most of my books, but not like a deep relationship. And so the next thing I started doing the selection process for more like hobby things, and I got rid of like a whole basket of hobbies that I had once wanted to pick up and then sort of forgot about it. Just get rid of that, and I only kept, you know, a box full of art supplies where I was like, yeah, I really like, and I really want to keep that. And I kept my skateboard because it's like, I love my skateboard. I don't want to live without it, and a few more things, but most of the stuff that was like hobby related, I let go. And then now we're like moving closer and closer to things that really matter. And the Holy Grail was really the memorabilia. Like I had boxes full of photos from my own artwork, and of course from friends and family from past. And this is and letters and postcards from family members and from loved ones. And this is where really the rubber hits the road, right? Where you're like, okay, this is real, because I think a lot of these memories and these things represent things that we keep inside, that we hold on to. And a lot of it, especially with family, I love my family. A lot of this stuff is really positive, and you know, but there's also, let's say I had a lot of photos from ex-girlfriends, from people I loved once and still love, but that I have grown apart from. And so slowly but surely I went through photos, you know, and I got rid of the photos that just were not good photos in the first place, and I just kept the ones where I was like, okay, I see this, and it just sparks joy. And then I went to photos from parents, old photos, new photos, and I just started slowly getting rid of things where I was like, I'm never gonna look at this. This doesn't change me. I still have the memory of these people. Of course, I kept important photos and important memories from my parents, from my mom, especially because she passed away last year. So this was a very slow and very deliberate process. And I only wound up with a stack of photos where I'm like, this matters. This is important to me. I want this in my life. And there were like hundreds of photos where I was like, I don't care for this. This is not a good photo, maybe in the first place. Maybe, you know, it's just a random photo. So I got rid of that. And the last thing, which was really where this went for me, was I took the photos of past girlfriends. I think this was what this was leading to. And I had like photos of my past girlfriends, and I realized that it was really interesting, and this is where I took a lot of time. This actually took the longest, and this was like the least amount of selection. It took me 2 days to start sort of saying goodbye to some of these former relationships and sort of freeing myself up again for new experiences. And that was a very slow process. This was like 1 photo, 2 photos, 3 photos per day, until I just stayed with those memories and those photos of people in my life that I really still care about, or that I felt like really meant something to me. And at the end, last but not least, I just celebrated the things that I kept, and I said thank you to, you know, also with the photos. Every photo I was like, thank you for this experience, thank you so much. And this became more personal with the closer I got to the relationships and the memorabilia of, you know, past relationships. Yeah, amazing, absolutely amazing. I highly recommend this. This has created tremendous space in my life. Not only do I'm so excited to come home every day now, which I wasn't before. My home wasn't really a place, like it didn't feel like a safe house, like a safe place for me for a long time, far too long. And the dynamic between me and my apartment has changed tremendously. It's become a place of rest and of refuge and of regeneration. And as I mentioned before, this has created space in my life for new experiences. A week after I had done the physical removal of all this stuff, I started, and this was completely intuitively, I started trying new things out every day. I started do a one new thing every day practice, and it's been going on for like 3 or 4 weeks now, and it's been so much fun. And so the KonMari method, I highly recommend. Get the manga version, because I think it's easier to follow along than the actual original book. And yeah, so this is my experience creating a new life, creating a lot of space for new experiences, for new successes, for new love, for new friendships, for new relationships, for new everything. It's been amazing. So highly recommend, and I hope you take this as an inspiration. If you do want to clean up and create space in your life for new experiences and new successes, do get this book and follow the steps. There is a reason why you start out with like clothes and why you stop and finalize with memorabilia. You need the training, you need a few days to get into it. And I do recommend going through the whole process in one go. So not in one day, this is too short, but I would recommend scheduling a week. So it took me about a week from start to finish to go through each step of this process. And I'm glad I did. And I'm looking forward to doing it again as well. So thanks so much for watching. Peace out, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.